2026 West Melbourne City Council meeting to order. If you would please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated, please. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's meeting of the City Council. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic, whether it is on tonight's agenda or on any issue that is important to you. Each person that wishes to speak should complete a speaker card, which are located near the glass doors, and submit it ahead of time to the city clerk. After you have been recognized to speak, please use the microphone at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the record. Please address all your comments to the City Council rather than individual members. Please direct questions to the chair. Speakers will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. All right. Our first item is going to be the State of the City 2025. And here we go.
Go for it, Mayor.
And once again, I apologize. It's either going to be my back to council or my back to the audience. So however it moves around, I apologize. All right, we'll get started here. And this, of course, is for the end of 2025 where we wound up. So here we are. I'm not going to read this verbatim to you. You can all read, I'm sure. How you got here, but it is my honor to be here. This is my second time presenting this, so hoping it will be better than my first time last year. And every year I do it, it will get better and better. So on a chilly February morning, the Florida Commerce joined the city for the ribbon cutting for the Melbourne Estates drainage. And we have some photos coming up here, and we'll go through that, and you'll be able to see that's what they are. I would like to say that we have received almost $4 million in grant funding, and part of that is $1.2 million allocated in 2026 for our efforts. We will be receiving that in 2026. Our vision, of course, for the City of West Melbourne is committed to being a vibrant, growing, and caring community that continually seeks excellence for the residents. Our vision is to grow West Melbourne into the Space Coast premier location for homes, careers, and families. Some of you are here tonight to help us with that. Thank you. This is from last year, our West Melbourne elected leaders. Of course, we had the holiday party, the Christmas party. You'll see our illustrious city manager there in his lovely jacket out there to the right. It's the only time he gets to wear it. All right, so now we're getting to the numbers, and this is the most important part here. I've kind of done a little bit of work on that. We are now 10.76 square miles, which I'm just going to round that to 11 square miles just to keep it simple. But I wanted you to know that at the incorporation of the city, September 11th, 1959, it says so right back there on our documents, right back there, we were just 6 square miles. In 2005, we were 8 square miles. And compare that now to 11 square miles. We have grown in population, and we certainly have grown in area. We have 280 acres of parkland, 135 full-time employees for part-time. And look at down here for the median household income. Look where West Melbourne is compared to our nearest neighbors to the north and the south. West Melbourne is obviously a great place to live. Our gross rents, look where our rents are, of the value of our homes, and we have approximately 2.65 persons per household, and we now have 9,924 households. In 2000, just 25 years ago, we had only 4,497 households, and compare that to where we are now at the 9,924. Our current population, 32,372. In 1959, again, when we were incorporated, we had just 3,050 people. I think they were all Platts. And in 2005, our population was 14,963 in 2005, and now in 2025, 32,373. So we have certainly grown a population. We've grown an area. Again, West Melbourne, the word is out. This is just a great place to live. And also, I'm very proud of the fact that for veterans, there's 2,756. Now, that's combined for all three cities. They didn't give us, it's a region, so we don't have that number for just West Melbourne. Although ChatGPT seems to think that that's just us. And let me go to our tax rate here and go to the next one. I'll get to that later. I wanted to mention here, this first one, that for accounting, and this is really important because this is what keeps us out of the newspaper. We were awarded the awards, thanks to our wonderful accounting departments we have here. The GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association Award. It's a professional organization that promotes high standards in government financial reporting. And the ACFR, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, which is a detailed report showing the government's financial position, including statements, notes, and key statistics, and financial excellence recognition. These are only given to the cities that just have the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and I'm very proud to be able to live in a city with that reputation. We were awarded $36,591,119.79. Thank you for being accurate, Keith. Thank you. And 79 cents in grants over the last 5 years. In new construction, our net new construction for just this year is $119 million. I don't think there's another city even close that can say that. That's wonderful. We have a AA- bond rating, and our building permits processed over 3,531. Our new finance director that I keep pointing to over here, Keith Smith, he is new here, but he has been working with the city of West Melbourne for quite a while. We had a total of 72 public meetings, and those are all of our public outreach meetings, not just council meetings, all of our planning and zoning and all of our other meetings. And the general reserve fund increased to $1.6 million. So we are very happy with that. And the public officials community outreach meeting, we've had over 1,000 of those, and that is every time one of the public officials is out going to meetings and meeting with the public. And the reason that we are such a good city, in addition to our wonderful staff, is our community collaboration. We would not be where we are if we did not play well in the sandbox with others. Again, West Melbourne has 280 acres of parks. We broke ground on the RO, the reverse osmosis water plant, and that is going to be as of January 1st, 2027. When you turn on the tap, it'll be West Melbourne water. We are very proud of that. We completed Melbourne Estate's flood risk reduction project. That was a huge project, and it was certainly helpful to people. They will no longer have, will not keep repeatedly receiving water in their home during heavy rains. And we broke ground on the BNR, the bionutrient removal, sewer plant improvements, and our next septic to sewer projects to help improve the Indian River Lagoon that is underway. And we've mitigated impacts of major flooding events with canal maintenance upgrades. We did a huge job in Westbrook, which two of us happen to live in Westbrook, and flooding was quite severe there. Measuring success, again, public meeting 72. Website visits, 435,000 visits to our website. I'm sure our IT department loves that. Our weekly Friday roundup, some of you subscribe to the weekly roundup, 883. Business tax receipts, 2,356 business tax receipts. And grant dollars awarded, the number down there, which I can't see, and $34,500, which again, I still can't see that. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm really proud of this. This is how West Melbourne pairs to the cities around us. So I wanted to give an idea here. In 2005 is when we first started collecting a tax. 2005, 2006 was our tax rate was $1.96 per thousand. And at its highest, the millage was $2.88, and that was in 2011. And now we are well below where we started. We're just at $1.81, so we have certainly gone full circle on that. Our nearest neighbor to the south, Palm Bay, our nearest lovely neighbor, they are at 7.699 or 7%. And to the east, Melbourne, it is 7.3%. And even to the north, Melbourne Village, their millage rate is 6.41%. ChatGPT's numbers are a little bit different, but they're pretty close to what I had. So I just wanted to bring that forth so we can see why West Melbourne is great. Everybody wants to be here, and why wouldn't they with numbers like these? Our police department is just going gangbusters. I'm so happy to see their visibility on the street. I see them everywhere. You can read this the same as I am. The total calls for service, you can see, is up. The crimes are down. The traffic stops are up. So mind your manners when you come into West Melbourne, because our officers are out there. Aren't they, Chief? They are out there and they are busy. And I'm very proud of this at the bottom. We went through a part where nobody wanted to make application to be a police officer, but we went through that, and look where we are now. We are recovering, and we are well manned at the police department. Our major projects that we have here at the very bottom, that's our water plant coming up. I'm not going to read those individually. I'll be here. We have the raw water conveyance project with the Melbourne Estates, as I mentioned earlier, Westbrook, and we purchased 24 acres of land on Minton Road, which is going to be a future park for the city and community center, right down here, right in front of Crystal Lakes. We're very happy with that. And again, a $52 million state-of-the-art reverse osmosis water plant. So and I must mention the driver safety speed monitoring signs. You may be seeing them more and more here. It's a warning to residents when they are speeding. So when the officer does stop them, they've already had their warning. Some of the things we've done here when we've broken ground, some of the events that we've been to, this was the groundbreaking torch run, the holiday tree lighting, that was a wonderful event, and that's me up there at the top there dumping balls down onto the ground. It was a great day. And we have the Tesla charging units that are new, and so that's some of the new construction, new projects that we have in West Melbourne. This is the new Amazon project coming in, so we are very excited about that. And you can see the construction going on across the street. That is the new city council chambers, which should be opening, well, I don't know about early in 2026, but it's working on it. We're working on that right now. I don't know if it's quite open yet. And this is our water plant, and this is what will look like on the inside. Construction update. One of these is a video. Oh, here we go. Do we have any sound?
Are you going to narrate?
Haven't you had enough?
As the mayor is floating above the water plant in her flying drone,
you can hear me screaming.
surveying the new water plant.
This is 45 seconds long, so it won't keep you here much longer, and this is the last slide. So this is pretty cool. This, I believe, is Mr. Picarillo, who did the
I believe one of our IT experts, Christian, shot this
Christian
video
did this, okay.
as a licensed drone pilot.
Okay, yes, that is what it looks like right now. So that is the state of the city as it sits right now today. So thank you very much. Okay. All right, here we go. Leave this behind. Woo. All right, next we have no modifications to the agenda. We'll open the public hearings, and the first is Ms. Fisher with Lennar Townhomes.
Okay, if you give me 1 minute to load that. Are you going to load it for me? Thank you. All right, for the record, Christy Fisher, Planning Director for the City of West Melbourne, and I'm going to go through agenda items 5A, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to be part of this presentation. The applicant is here in the audience, and remember, this item had been tabled last meeting in January, so here we are. The last time this was before you all was December. So the second reading is for the annexation. Remember that the annexation, the future land use, and the rezoning is all about the 2.75 acres. It's one vacant land parcel that was still sort of a remnant next to John Rhodes Boulevard on the west side. We didn't annex it in 2006. There are legal reasons. Now that we can annex it, we are annexing it. Have not heard from neighbors, so again, that's just a reminder. The area is that rectangle that's shown in yellow. We have to look at the adjacency requirements from the statutes. It is next to our city, so it meets that requirement. And I'm going to now go through the small-scale comprehensive plan map amendment and the rezoning, the development agreement, conceptual master plan. So remember, you all did not take a vote on any of those items. You wanted some changes to the development agreement and then to bring everything back to you. I'm going to let the city attorney ask you questions on this slide.
Thank you, and as always, this is a public hearing, and it is a quasi-judicial matter. Therefore, you are required to disclose any communications that you've had that may inform your decision outside of the materials provided by staff that's in the record. So this includes, obviously, conversations, but also anything that you've personally observed that may inform your decision, such as visits to the property to observe the property for the purpose of evaluating it for this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. Ms. Volz?
I talked to Mindy Gibson on it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Adams.
I visited the site the other day.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Fisher.
Okay. Again, the background, Anna Saunders, I don't believe is here tonight, but we have Kim Razanka representing Lennar Homes. And remember, this property was going to be developed as Legacy West Melbourne. So those were going to be market rate apartments. Instead, we have a new type of development, the townhouse lots. The existing use, now is vacant. Remember, it's been different things over time, but it's been vacant for several years. The proposed use for that yellow rectangle is to have a little city park by virtue of having a walking trail around the stormwater pond. So in the county, they have a community commercial future land use designation. They have the RU215 county zoning, and they're trying to get the city's urban density in R3 zoning. We always look at the surrounding future land use and rezoning. We've got some industrial to the north and to the east. We have vacant property that's to the south, and also vacant property to the west. It is compatible with the surrounding properties. It's sort of a transition use, and having this sort of city park and walking trail does provide a little bit of buffering from the more intense industrial uses. So 5B2 is all about the future land use designation. That's what that staff report is about. It's about going from the community commercial in the county. So whenever we annex a property, we have to assign it city zoning and city future land use. The right-hand side of the slide says that it would go to UD-RES. That's the acronym for Urban Density Residential. With the comprehensive plan changes, there's a number of things we have to look at, including some of the infrastructure, and that's an image of that property today, with it standing as a vacant field instead of having a building on it. We also have to look at impacts, sort of compare if it was left in the county, how much development could it have on it versus in the city. There are some decreases by bringing it into the city. They would be able to build sort of more intensely if it had been in the county. Police protection, as you know, would be West Melbourne now instead of the sheriff. It's also consistent with FLU stands for Future Land Use, and the comprehensive plans, goals, objectives, and policies. Those are some of the things that we have to look at when we do look at a future land use map amendment. And public facilities, we have the capacity to deliver the basic water and sewer. They do have to extend it to their development. The city does not pay for that. They will be extending it. The state of Florida also has a private property rights element that it's required all 400 local governments to put in. So they are going to be able to, if they get the zoning, they'll be able to proceed with the multifamily type of layout. For the rezoning, they're going through, going from the RU-2-15, which is sort of like a medium density. So with the zoning, they're sort of more comparable into what they're going to be with the city with the R3 zoning. We also, for the zoning, have to look at, is it consistent with other parts of our land development regulations, and that it's not conferring on them something special that other properties don't have in that same zoning. What we have on the right-hand side is an image sort of just of that. It's 3.01 acres because the park and that area for the stormwater is going to be slightly larger than the 2.75 acres that we're annexing. But you can see a little bit of the blue, and I think we talked last time about, that they're going to have the one driveway that's going to come in from John Rhodes. There will be some parking on the right-hand side before you get to the gate that would be for, this West Melbourne townhomes. Now, switching gears to the development agreement. This is kind of what, got us to hold off until this meeting. There is, of course, some property history about the overall parent parcels, what I call it. So that's the larger rectangle. And, in 2006, most of the 14 acres were annexed in. It went through, it was going to be a bunch of different sort of apartment type of developments, 2007, 2022. And here we are, that they applied in 2025 for a 144 unit fee simple townhouse community. I'll let them talk a little bit more about that. But the development agreement, deals with the entire property, and it does provide some assurances about the use, the density, what the type of development is going to be, the townhouse subdivision, the infrastructure improvements, architecture, landscaping, the city park facility. All of that is in the development agreement. This is just to remind you of some of the architectural elevations they've shown us and committed to by putting it in the development agreement. They're committing to this. And then you all did your draft review 12/16, and then it was supposed to be January 20th. It got tabled until today. Well, it was actually tabled last meeting, sorry, February 3rd. I'm not going to read through each of these items. We did talk about that a little bit more in the previous meeting. And this was the conceptual master plan. There was no change between that meeting in December and today. There's been no change to the layout. Looks the same. If you were to pull up that staff report from that agenda, it looks identical. What has changed is some of the wording. So remember, we started going through that this section 5, there was a lot of talk back and forth between council and the applicant about, what did the applicant mean about certain things. So some of it has been changed. I'm going to let, the applicant go through that if they want to. I think this was changed, favorably based on the conversation with City Council back in December. Another thing was the rental restrictions. That was something that you all asked as a, request during that meeting, which is to make sure that, the rental periods are no less than 12 months. So that has been changed. So those are the two primary sets of changes. That's why, I show those slides. We can certainly, try to answer other questions about it, but for the development agreement, I believe they did change what council had asked. And even with the development agreement, we have to look at our comprehensive plan, the land development regulations, make sure it's, consistent with that, compliant with the land development regulations, that they're not trying to do something that they wouldn't be allowed to do in that zoning district. So in conclusion, remember there's, 3 ordinances in one development agreement. So you have 4 actions here. The first action is to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-29 that annexes in that front parcel. The second 2 actions have to do with changing, the future land use and giving a zoning to that front parcel. So those are the next 2. And then the final action would be the development agreement, however you want to, rule on that. So those are the 4 items. I'll try to answer any questions you have. And like I said, the applicant is here.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the applicant. Mr. Zanka, did you want to?
Council. My name is Kim Rozenka. I am here representing Lennar Homes. With me are representatives from Lennar to answer any questions you may have, and also Samantha with LJA is here. Anna Saunders is out of town visiting colleges with her daughter, and she's very excited about that. But she has been here. She's explained this to you. We were here in January, and there were questions specifically about the development agreement, about the signage, why we wanted the ability to look at the sign, whether or not we had control over the landscaping and the rental restrictions. So we just took all of that out based upon your concerns. So the signage will all be the same, whatever the city decides, and that we won't be maintaining your park unless there's trash or something, they happen to pick it up. I don't really remember why we struck the word primary, but I think that benefits you. And I think it was we kept changing the language, and that just stuck that way. And then with the rental restriction, you had asked that the HOA not allow rentals for less than 1 year, and that's going to be in the HOA as well. Other than that, this is a townhome project. Lennar does good product. They're going to be fee simple. Yes, we have long discussions about what that means, but they are going to be sold to people. Lennar is not keeping them and renting them out. And their intent is it to be a very nice development, high class, and they want to be here. They want to do townhomes. They want to be part of the community. And with that, we would ask that you approve the 4 items before you. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Rozenka? All right. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this? I do not have any speaker cards. I do not. Seeing that, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Carey, would you like to read the ordinances?
Thank you, Mayor. And as usual, we have 2 different ordinances for this. Or excuse me, there's 3 because this also includes an annexation. So I'll read each of them in turn and settle in for a few minutes. The first one is ordinance number 2025-29, an ordinance of the City of West Melbourne, Brevard County, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition a parcel of land approximately 2.75 plus or minus acres in size, located at 930 South John Rhodes Boulevard, and as more fully described herein. Finding that the area being annexed is reasonably compact and contiguous to the city, that the annexation of the property does not create an enclave, that the annexation of the property otherwise complies with Florida law, amending the corporate boundaries of the city to provide for the incorporation of the real property described herein, providing for filing of the revised city boundaries with the Department of State, providing for repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The second ordinance is ordinance number 2025-30, an ordinance of the City of West Melbourne, Brevard County, Florida, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan to change the future land use on a parcel of land totaling 2.75 plus or minus acres located at 930 South John Rhodes, and as more fully described herein, from Brevard County Community Commercial to City of West Melbourne Urban Density Residential, providing an effective date. And the final ordinance is ordinance number 2025-31, an ordinance of the City of West Melbourne, Brevard County, Florida, rezoning a 2.75 plus or minus acre parcel of land generally located at 930 South John Rhodes Boulevard, and as more fully described herein, from Brevard County Agricultural Residential to City of West Melbourne R3 Multifamily Dwelling District, providing an effective date. And each of those needs to be voted on separately. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Bentley?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd make a motion we approve the second reading of ordinance number 2025-29, annexing property located at 930 South John Rhodes Boulevard.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Foltz?
Second.
Thank you. My lights are disappearing. All right, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Bentley, a second from Ms. Foltz. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, 2025-30, Mr. Gaylord.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-30, amending the future land use designation.
Thank you. Ms. Foltz?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Gaylord, a second from Ms. Foltz. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. 2025-31. Ms. Foltz?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-31, rezoning the property.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Gaylord?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Ms. Foltz, a second from Mr. Gaylord. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you. The development agreement? Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. Before we take a vote on this one, I just wanted to share my quick thoughts with council, because this was the part of this project that I know we've had long discussions, both at our last meeting, but also, I don't know if the rest of council's had as many meetings with Mr. Rohde about it as I have, but it was some good discussion, and I appreciate his input as well as staff's with it. And I just wanted to share, in terms of the park that we're looking to potentially add as this piece, which is part of the development agreement. Oh, thank you, Ms. Fisher. I do appreciate the opportunity for us to have added green space in the city, but I also encourage council to consider that green space doesn't always equal quality park space. I think this land specifically has some limitations, and I think we would then, if we do decide to add it as a public park to the city, we're then battling with perception difficulties of a public park that could feel private, like we're already dealing with another park within the city, and now we're trying to correct that issue. I do want the residents in the northwest section of the city to have a quality park, and to me that means it's accessible, it's inviting, it's created for the purpose of providing our recreation opportunities for our residents. And to me, this doesn't quite feel like it, and I appreciate, from the development side that you thought of this and said, hey, we're willing to work with the city and provide this park space. But I think from a overall parks perspective, as we are looking at building our parks network, we're looking at enhancing that northwest section with some quality parkland. To me, this doesn't feel like it, so I just wanted to share my thoughts with council. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Frampus.
Just to add to that, I think this is an unusual case for us because typically we don't join our parks with other people's water reserves. And by doing this, we're also taking some liability away from them, because typically the homeowners association would have to pay for the insurance for that land and for the water access, and be responsible if a child, falls in the water and has problems. It falls on them. We're releasing that liability by taking this on as our property. I just have had a problem with this park from the beginning. So that's just my thoughts. It's something unusual that we're doing, and it's not consistent with how we do things. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foltz.
Yeah, I don't think it was meant to be what we would consider a big city park that the neighbors would go to, kind of like that we have now. This is just, I think, a generous offer to do something with that land. I think it's a great opportunity to do something with the land, and so I really would just like to go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and approve this development agreement.
All right, thank you. We have, is there a second? Ms. McGuire.
I'll second, but does your motion include the conditions that staff put in?
Absolutely.
Okay, then yes, second.
Mr. Bentley.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rohde, does this count as a formal park to be north of 192?
This pocket park, if you will, does not intend to solve the park, what's the fancy? Desert. This does not intend to solve the park desert up in that northwest quadrant of the community. I think it was just a good opportunity. The developer, because of where the land and the pitch and everything, this looked like a situation where we could at least open up a pretty good sized walking area for that part of the community and add some value. This is not intended to be the sole northwest quadrant park.
And, yeah, thank you. No, that was a no. This does not count as a park.
It's going to be a city park, but it's not intended to be the solution, the long-term solution.
That's what I was referring to.
It's just a value add as an opportunity to, instead of 144 residents having that area to enjoy that part of the community, really the whole community, but that's more specifically that part of the community.
As part of our parks plan, though, we identified that the north end, north of 192 was short park-wise. And what I hear you saying is, yes, this counts as a park. Obviously, it is a park. But it's not to fulfill that need. There'll be a bigger formal park done for that purpose. And I'm hearing, yes, that's true.
We are still looking to acquire a traditional park in that area.
So my second question, don't we have another illustration like this? And is it Westbrook, that there's a park that's also part of the city?
Yeah, I think several, just about all of our all of our parks minus the community park.
Right.
Is an element of a subdivision, right? Whether it's Westbrook, Tallwood, Hammock Lakes, and Clemenswood are all, parts of a subdivision.
So I'd ask the city attorney, the point that that Steve actually brought out.
That was just about the retention pond. That had nothing to do with being near things.
But the concept is this, I hear you. But the concept is that the city has taken on responsibility that would normally belong to an HOA, whether it's a water park or that someone falls off a swing set, whatever it is. How does that work? I mean, is it because the city has deep pockets? They're always responsible? How does...
The issue is that when you're on city property, the city is liable for maintenance of that property. And if the property isn't properly maintained, then the liability for that lack of maintenance would fall on the city. Whereas if it's in an HOA, then the HOA is responsible for the maintenance. And if it's not properly maintained, the liability would go to the HOA.
So they wouldn't go after deep pockets and sue the city?
They certainly could. I mean, we get sued from time to time by people who get hurt in our parks.
It would be our property, right? It's our property.
Right.
Okay.
So
I didn't know if it was...
Yeah, so
let's...
The issue is, again, who's responsible for the maintenance and if the maintenance isn't done properly, right? We're only responsible to the extent that we're negligent in our responsibilities. So if we're responsible for maintaining a property and that maintenance is lacking, then we could be liable for the lack of maintenance. I hope that clarifies things.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire.
On that note, looking at what just got pulled up on the screen, I just want to further clarify on this, though, that technically their CDD has the responsibility for maintaining the pond up to the high water mark. So wouldn't that, I mean, obviously it's still a public park, so technically, liability, but it's still theirs?
Yeah, again, when you're talking about negligence, the issue is who's responsible for the maintenance. Most likely in the real world, if somebody got hurt within the pond itself, they would probably sue both the HOA and the city and see who they can go after, because that's kind of the way these things tend to work. They'll sue anybody that they think could potentially have liability, and the city would certainly be in that bucket.
Ms. Adams.
But short of the activities mentioned at previous meetings about walking, the walking loop around the pond, and a couple, I think there were some sort of small play structure. It wasn't a full play structure, kind of an activity space at one end of the pond. I don't see it in that drawing, but I do recall us talking about it at the previous meeting.
There's a shade, like a sail shade here at the north end.
Right.
And then this is the parking here. So then there would be, it's not shown on here, but there would be a sidewalk that goes around the park.
Right, but
that was one of your questions.
Short of being a walking trail around the park, this would not be I know our parks director is sitting in the audience, that this would not be a park where you could have programming opportunities for our residents, correct? Short of a relay race around the pond?
Yeah, I mean, never say never that it couldn't be an activity, but, most of our programming is at the community park or here at the Veterans Memorial.
Right, but as we enhance our parks through our master plan, the goal is to identify areas where we can improve each of those parks to provide better opportunities. When it would come to something like this, there's no expanse growth, there's no change in what we can do here due to its size, due to the pond. Am I looking at that correctly?
As far as growing this park into something else other than what it is?
Other than a walking trail around the pond?
No, there's not much to work with other than what is there, but again, it's not intended to be the northwest quadrant city park.
Understood. And I appreciate that we're continuing to explore those, because I think it's going to take some time to find that, being as land is coming to be a premium. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Ms. Volz?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out, I know that there's a lack of parks in the north end. Do we have any idea at all, any possible projects, any prospects anywhere up there at all?
So we are working with several pieces of property in that quadrant. We just have not gotten a realistic price yet to bring to the council to try to purchase.
Okay, so you are working diligently on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Fisher, I have a question as well.
Okay, and I had a comment.
Oh, go ahead, make your comment.
So my comment is, the Chapter 86 code, which deals mostly with subdivisions, also deals with any residential development has to do one of two things: either pay a recreation fee or donate land to the city, and the city council gets to, decide whether they want to do that. So in the spirit, they are doing that. They're, asking to donate it to the city and not pay that recreation fee. So remember, that opportunity has been there ever since the code started in the 70s, and that's why we have Hammock Lakes Park and Clements Wood and all those other little parks that you mentioned, is exactly for that reason.
Typically,
That
it doesn't
transaction was done.
include the retention ponds that they're using, right?
Well, in Hammock Lakes, we do. Hammock Lakes, if you look at the property appraiser map, it's a mess. One part of the lake is actually owned by that HOA, another part of the lake is owned by the city. So it's not always just that upland sort of area that you can play on. Sometimes we have gotten water with some of these transactions.
Interesting. But typically.
Okay, so my question is this: if this does not go through and the council decides not to take the park, would the park be behind a wall where they would not have people passing by just thinking it's a public park and going in and using it? It would be protected? It's gated, correct?
I think, that's really for the applicant, but I thought you guys were going to kind of like, if that wasn't a public park, you were going to have that just be an amenity for your residents, not everybody else. So they're agreeing.
Okay, and I wanted to mention that two of us here happen to live in a Lennar subdivision, and we have the city park right there. The Westbrook Park is a city park. The pond, however, that's there belongs to the HOA. So the HOA maintains it. The city maintains the entire park. The pool and things, which is on the other side of the street, that's for us to maintain. And of course, we have to keep that gated because people think that it's part of the public park. That, I think, is just education and re-education of people who just want to use something that isn't public. My point in this is that we've had no issues between responsibility for the pond and the park and the city maintaining the park. So if this was going to be the same thing as what we have in Westbrook, would it be the same thing, Mr.
Yeah, Westbrook, it's, the liability question is a fair one. You're never going to get out of liability when you have things, right? So we have a community park, and we have a lot of public space that we're in charge of, and that makes us targets for liability. Lots of times, our city attorney and past city attorneys have been able to show that there's been no lack of maintenance or no lack of responsibility by the city, and so we're able to step out of those. But certainly anytime, Lennar may build this out, and in 10 years something happens there and Lennar has no affiliation to this, they still would probably be sued because they were the ones who built it. So I mean, the liability one is it's a hard one. Again, the intent was allow some public space for that part of the community as opposed to it just being for the 144 townhomes. That was as simple as it gets. That's how I.
Thank you, Mr. Gaylord.
Christie, if you could remind me, if we as the council decide, that this wants to be something that the HOA should own rather than a public park, what is you mentioned the recreation fee. Have we, as the city, done any kind of analysis on like the value that we're giving to our residents for this park versus, us getting the recreation fee?
I'm going to turn that back to Mr. Rohde. I don't know how you want to answer that. I didn't do any analysis.
Yeah, we have not done a calculation of what their rec impact would be based on their donation. So we could get you that number, but I don't have it in front of me.
In the next 30 seconds.
It would probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just that's what it's tended to be for a lot of these developments. But I don't know what the exact number would be. And it's based on the value of the property. That's part of the equation. Then there's like 4 other sort of factors that go into that equation.
Mr. Bentley.
Is there parking around this for visitors?
The
bottom?
parking is down in this area. See the line that says public parking?
wow.
And then there's entrance towers. So this is not gated. What you would do is you would come in through here, and I think Anna said she was looking at having like 6 parking spaces, and then the gate is actually up here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, no other comments? We have a motion on the floor from Ms. Foltz, and we have a second from Ms. McGuire to approve the development agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-2. 5-4-2 against, with Mr. Frampus and Ms. Adams voting nay. Mr. Carey, next item, recovery residences.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a second reading of the Recovery Residences Ordinance. As you may recall from the first reading discussion, these are what the state calls sober homes. The intent is for people to rent out individual rooms in an area that's supposed to be free of alcohol and drugs so that people who are recovering from addiction can be in a space where those items aren't allowed. And the group homes already exist under our zoning, but the state has mandated that we create criteria for approving of recovery residences, which includes the addition of reasonable accommodations for persons with disabilities. So this ordinance is an ordinance that's similar to ordinances created all over the state. I've reviewed quite a few of them in my drafting and preparation for this, and they're mostly very similar because they just draw from the requirements of the statute. Where we've differed from, say, Melbourne is that Melbourne has elected to not have a fee for the processing of the application, whereas we've put in our ordinance that we can implement a fee, and that's why this was delayed until tonight, so we could get the fee nailed down to go in the fee schedule, which you'll be seeing later in the evening. So I'm free to answer any questions that you may have, but I do need to read this out loud before we discuss and vote on it, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, please.
This is ordinance number 2026-01, an ordinance of the City of West Melbourne, Florida, relating to recovery residences, creating Section 98-1455 of the City Code of the City of West Melbourne, setting forth the purpose of recovery residences, creating Chapter 98, Article 5, Division 13, Sections 98-1455 through 98-1465 of the City Code of the City of West Melbourne relating to application of recovery residences, relating to findings of reasonable accommodation, relating to the decision process, creating an appeal process, creating the requirements for the request form, relating to stay of enforcement of the code, relating to expiration of approvals, relating to revocation of reasonable accommodation, relating to annual certification, relating to provisions or revisions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification and scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing, and we have no cards. We will close the public hearing, and Mr. Frampus.
Make a motion, we approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-01 as written.
Mr. Gaylord.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Frampus and a second from Mr. Gaylord. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you. Next item. Public forum. We have a speaker card. Public forum. Kevin Frank, would you please come to the podium? State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Frank. My address is 3162 Reith Street, West Melbourne. And first, I'd like to thank the City Council. What's this?
Speak into the mic so we can hear you.
Can't hear me? Okay. I'd like to thank the City Council for the land that they purchased in front of Crystal Lakes West, because the community is hearing what you plan on doing, and we're very pleased about that, and you have our support. So thank you very much for that. I'm here tonight because in the last 10 days or so, I've received several phone calls from residents in the neighborhood asking why we're not getting support from the police department in areas of traffic in the neighborhood and some situations in the neighborhood. And I personally have experienced this because we have a situation at a house where it is rented and a corporation is renting the house, and there are 8 cars there every night, an unknown amount of people. We don't really know how many people are going in and out of there. We are in a HOA. We are zoned as R1B in that area, and this should be single-family residence, which we don't understand why these people are allowed to go there. We think it is a violation of city ordinance. It's certainly a violation of our covenants. We've contacted the owner, who is Invitation Homes, who has 8 homes in our community. And after being very sympathetic on the phone call, they have completely stopped communicating with us, so they're not responding at all. I did contact the police ordinance department, and they basically told me, well, there's a broad definition of what family is. We have 8 cars, 8 independent people that are working for this company that are living there. It's a flop house. And I'm asking for city support in some way to tell us, what can we do about this? When I contacted the police department initially, I asked why they couldn't issue tickets, because that is what we were told by the police on presence, because there were cars that were parked illegally, blocking sidewalks, parked facing the wrong direction. And they said, this is an HOA, we can't issue tickets in the HOA. I know for a fact that this HOA signed an agreement some 2.5 years ago requesting that traffic violations be enforced within our community. And I was told that it expired. I don't know what we need to do to keep the expiration going, but if it means I need to fill out a form daily, I will be glad to do so. We just need the support from the police department that will enforce traffic violations and possibly look into this ordinance situation with this house. We've had this situation in the past. It was worse in the past with a different house from the same owner. And I believe a resident called ICE, and that is what cleared it up, because they came and took quite a few of them away. I don't know if that's the situation here, but we need help. We need help from the police. We need support from the police. And the truth is that I have about 4 or 5 residents that were planning to go march on City Hall and meet up with the chief of police and say, hey, what are you doing? And I asked them to please hold off and give us a chance to just address it with the city. So that's why I'm here today. I'm looking for some support from the chief of police to see what we can do. I'm not expecting you to solve it here tonight, but I wanted you to hear me. So that is why I'm here, and I hope you can help us.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Actually, we have some questions for you from council. Mr. Francis.
Mr. Rhodey, I believe it's every 2 years on enforcement agreements, or is it every year for renewing those?
If it's every other year, we would reach out and renew it. We would not,
I know they expire for
right,
sure,
we would not take a position that it expired, and so we would not be able to do anything. And so I think you have two very, two kind of different issues. And
That was going to be my suggestion, that maybe, you haven't reached out to Mr. Rhodey yet?
I have not reached out
Okay,
to anyone except the police.
so probably your first, I would suggest your first instant would be give him your name and number, and he.
Yeah, we're happy to work with you. The traffic, whether it's expired or not, we can get that resolved, but either way, we're always happy to enforce traffic. The other issue is a little bit more complicated, and there's a process involved, and so we're happy to talk to you about that process, but it's not as easy as, and your HOA has more powers than the city.
That was going to be my other suggestion, is what your attorney said, and I know we would go through our attorney and enforce our declaration at that point and start fining, so.
I have not brought it to our attorney yet. I have brought it to our management company, and our management company has not taken other action other than just notifying the owner that this is a violation of our agreement.
Oh, well, sounds like got a couple steps to go through first. Go ahead, Chief.
Hey, how you doing? So I'll certainly meet with the gentleman and, see what issues we can address. I do have the agreement currently up for Crystal Lakes West, and it's in effect for an indefinite period of time and can be terminated by either party, but there is no expiration on the current agreement.
Good.
And I know myself and Deputy Chief have been out there a couple times in the last couple of years dealing with some parking issues and meeting with the Homeowners Association leadership and gave them some suggestions on what to do too. So we're happy to address it. This is the first I'm hearing of it, but I'm happy to meet with you and we'll see what we can do for you.
So there you go. Name and number to the chief and city manager, and you're good to go.
Hold on. Ms. Adams.
My follow-up to that was going to ask about interacting with your HOA attorney, but it sounds like that's going to be a step that's going to be involved in this. Chief just clarified that it doesn't look like there's an expiration date on the agreement with the police department. Mr. Rhodey, do you know of any of our other HOAs? I'm just thinking, if this gentleman thought his was expired, do we have other HOAs that either they do expire? Because I couldn't imagine that we have some that say indefinitely, but others that have dates. So I just want to clarify that, because I don't want
definitely.
some HOAs thinking they're good, others thinking there's an expiration date, and then there being that ambiguity.
We're happy to look into that. Off the top of my head, I do not know the status of all the HOA enforcement agreements.
Understood. Thank you, sir, for coming to us, because I think coming to us and having the conversation lets us open those doors. I don't think anybody wants, I don't know if your neighbors necessarily want to walk all the way to City Hall and stand outside either. So I like conversation, and I appreciate you coming, so thank you.
Absolutely.
When we spoke earlier, did you mention that they keep there's so many people there, they keep a lockbox on the door and it's more of a rooming house?
Drew our suspicion at first. When we first saw all these cars there, we saw the lockbox was still on the door, so we thought they were like day workers that were crashing there. And then we contacted the owner, and they said, oh, no, it's been leased. And I said, well, the lockbox is on the door. Well, the lockbox is on the door because they arrive at all different hours, and that way they can all get the key and go in.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Cars every night, so.
All right, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. Frank. All right.
Which is why corporate ownership is a problem.
Next item is consent agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve the regular council meeting minutes of Tuesday, February 3rd. Ms. Adams.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes of February 3rd.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gaylord.
Second.
All right, there's a motion on the floor from Ms. Adams and a second from Mr. Gaylord to approve the minutes of the February 3rd meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Action item, non-consent, Westbrook Lift Station Rehabilitation Project.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor,
Evening.
council members. Only one tonight, so this is our annual rehabilitation of lift stations. This year, it's Lift Station 133, which is the Westbrook Lift Station located on Wingate Boulevard. We're going to be utilizing Hinterland Group, which has done work for us before with lift station rehabilitations. And we're going to be piggybacking off the Palm Beach County contract, which they have. The cost proposal is based off the Palm Beach County contract, and that's the contract that we're going to be piggybacking off for this project. Hinterland Group submitted a cost proposal for the project for $235,864.13 in cost for the lift station rehabilitation on that part of it. And the city usually purchases the materials, the pumps, everything else that goes with it, because that's what the lift stations have. So we keep it consistent with all our other 80 lift stations. So the products we're dealing with are the same products for all the lift stations. So we're going to be purchasing from Barney's Pumps a total of $88,040 for the materials for the rehab to supply to the Hinterland Group.
All right, thank you.
So with that, I recommend that the City Council approve the award to the contract to Hinterland Group LCC in the amount of $235,864.13 for the rehabilitation of the Westbrook Lift Station, and along with the expenditures of $88,040 for Barney Pumps for the parts, totaling $323,904.13 for the total cost, and we have budgeted $350,000 for this project.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have a motion on the, I'm sorry, Ms. Volz.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve all the figures that he just mentioned.
Mr. Bentley.
Second, and I would mention, I think it also saves you on sales tax to have you guys buy the materials, so, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Ms. Volz, a second from Mr. Bentley. All those, Mr. Frampus, I didn't see your light. Thank you.
And I could ask that after, but Mark, how often do these lift stations get rehabbed? Because you mentioned we have 80 of them, and we're just doing one, and it's costing $323,000. So I'm guessing we're not doing just one a year, or is it as needed?
It's not as needed. We do have a process. Come up and let us know, but we do have a process. We do the older ones, and as we work south, obviously the same as paving, the south end is more newer than the north end. Last year we did not Wingate, I'm sorry. What did we do last year? We did,
But we only do like one or two a year, right? So, I mean,
we used to do 2 a year, but
with 80, I mean, I'm sure they don't last 80 years. So, I mean, we're probably going to get hit.
get out of them, it's probably.
We're probably going to get hit hard at some point, right?
Everything else, the more you use it, the quicker you have to replace it. So this one, luckily, it's been around since the 90s, if you think about Westbrook, Wingate, when it was first developed. So we've gotten a good life run out of this lift station. It's overdue. We've pushed this back, but we have to get this.
Which is kind of my point. Maybe it's 30 years, but if we're only doing one a year, then we're still going to fall behind at some point, right?
Could, yes, but we've been ahead of the game. All these investments we've been making have been paying dividends off, especially come hurricane season.
I'm just thinking about future planning and all, and
Yeah, we used to be able to do 2 a year before COVID, and then the prices just went crazy, We had to go to one, and now it seems like the prices are starting to level out a little bit more to where maybe in the future with a little more we can do, go back to start doing two again.
Thanks for the information. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Volz and a second from Mr. Bentley. All those in, pardon me?
I didn't second, I don't think.
I thought
Oh,
you did
okay,
too.
I had a question, that's why I had my light back on, or just a comment.
Mr. Bentley?
I'm sorry. I still agree with Mr. Frampus's point, unless they're lasting 40-plus years, their day's coming, and we ought to be thinking about that, at least going forward, that even at 2 a year, that's not going to keep up.
The full,
If,
our regular we do have a regular maintenance program where we do pull the pumps, we maintenance the pumps, we could send the pumps out. We do have spare pumps for the lift stations for a lot of the lift stations. So we do a maintenance on that part, but the other part is just once the corrosion and everything starts happening.
right, I'm just saying that it has to be, unless they last 40 years, you're going to have a problem. If they last 40 years, we can break even. So I'll let it go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to that motion on the floor from Ms. Volz and a second from Mr. Bentley. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you. Recreation fee schedule. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, wow,
Afternoon.
Council. I'm here with the recreation fee resolution. The only thing that we did change this year was an adjustment to the rental time of the Pearl Room from midnight to 10 p.m. to keep the consistency of the Saturday and Sunday rentals. And then we want to establish a $200 rental fee for the use of the amphitheater only. Right now, we rent that side of the community park for $400, and that includes the pavilions to rent the entire park. We have had a lot of requests lately for just the amphitheater, and then they said we could continue to rent the pavilions while they were using the amphitheater. So those are the only two changes that we have on the fee schedule. Any questions?
Ms. Volz?
Oh, no, sorry.
Ms. Adams?
I did have a question, seeing the breakdown and the addition of the amphitheater. How far into that green space, is it the entire green space and the amphitheater? Because the pavilions are obviously much further back from the amphitheater, so I just wanted clarification on what that means for a rental.
It usually goes to about where the skate park office is, you know, where those offices are in that bathroom, right around that area.
Okay,
It is
so,
the groups that rent it are usually pretty small. It's usually like dance troops. Our belly dancers rent it the day after our tree lighting. So it's usually like a smaller group, but I would say the cutoff would be right around that skate park restroom area.
okay, and does that then overlap or come right next to, if a pavilion was rented, they would have the space up to then, or there's a dead space in the middle?
There'd be a dead space in the middle.
Okay, thank you.
All right. What are the wishes of the council? Oh, Ms. Volz, your light is on again?
Yeah, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the recreation fee schedule.
All right, I'm looking for a second. Ms. McGuire?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Volz. We have a second from Ms. McGuire. All those in favor of the recreation fee schedule, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next item 8C, revising the development review fee schedule. Ms. Fisher?
Okay, this is, the last change we made was in 2024, and remember, land development fees are not just the planning department, it involves other departments. That's why in the staff report, I wanted to make sure that that was, you know, the message says it's Public Works, this is a city engineer, this is other departments. So from the planning perspective, there were a couple of fees we changed. That's all we really did. There's, you know, with this recovery residence that the ordinance was passed tonight, we had to have an application fee, and, you know, we followed sort of the lead that some of the other local governments down in South Florida had done. We have also encountered lot splits. A lot of times people think of lot splits as just residential. We actually have more non-residential, so commercial properties, industrial properties, church properties, something that's not residential that do lot splits and involves a little bit more work than what you might think. So we wanted to include that. Then switching gears and going to Public Works and all the other departments, they identified a number of areas. So they had more changes to that ordinance or to the resolution than we did, like as-built drawings. So when a building's built, there's a drawing that shows where exactly it was placed on the lot, right-of-way use permit, inspection and reinspection fees, stormwater connection to a local system. So I'll try to answer some. Mr. Rohde is here in case you wanted to talk about sort of the non-planning stuff, but I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Right, thank you. Anyone have any questions? We don't have any questions. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Actually, I do have a question. Did you get any feedback from development at all on these fees?
The planning department does not. The one area we do get feedback, and it's really the city engineer and Public Works, has to do with a pre-construction meeting. And a lot of the contractors, the way development works sometimes is that contractors have to pay for some of these fees, and then they get reimbursed by developers, and they experience a little bit of sticker shock, especially if it's a large project. But that's the only one. And as you see, there are tables and tables of the different fees, and planning has never gotten any, feedback about, oh my gosh, these fees are too much. It's really only been that pre-construction meeting that I've heard feedback from.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the fee schedule for land development.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus?
I'll second the motion for 2026-03.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Ms. Volz. We have a second from Mr. Frampus. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, 8D.
There was a resolution there. Does the attorney have to read that?
No, just ordinances.
Okay.
Building official, I'm sorry, department, building department fee schedule, Mr. Rohde.
Before you kind of keeping with our annual theme of trying to do the fees all in one night, so I know this is kind of 3 fee items, but our goal is to not do this spread out and confuse anybody. We try to put all the fees on one night so that everyone can see the fees that we charge for the services. And kind of an ongoing theme with both what Ms. Fisher presented and a couple of the changes that the building department is proposing is really the reinspection and the more challenging items. As you saw with the planning fees, as-builts and resubmittals of as-builts. In the building department here, we have a reinspection fees, and then off-hour permitting is probably the 2 biggest ones that we're trying to capture the more realistic cost. What we continue to see here over the last, 10 years, but it's really gotten bad here the last couple of years, is we really rely on as-builts. As-builts are we'll pick on Lennar since they were here tonight. They're going to have construction plans that our staff will review and approve. They will build the project, and then we require as-builts, which are a set of documents that come in after the project is over that identifies where the pipes actually did go. Because when you're out in the field and you hit a big boulder, you go around it, it doesn't pay to have a construction set of drawings that say the pipe's over here if it's really over there. And one of the challenges we've been having with the as-builts is just the quality. And we want the quality good so that 25 years from now, when there's a water leak or a sewer leak or stormwater's not draining right, the public works and utility crews aren't out there digging around trying to find where they think the pipe is. We want to know where the actual pipe is. And so it's something we've been talking about here probably for about 1.5 years. We just want to make sure the quality is what we're getting. And when we don't charge enough, what tends to happen is they turn in as-bills that aren't very good. Our staff spends a lot of time reviewing them and pointing out where they are not correct. And then they make those changes and then submit again. And there's kind of a trend of using the city as quality control as opposed to doing it right the first time and giving it to us. And so we're just trying to balance that. The other significant item is the off-hours work. We continue to see a big push in, speed in construction, and we're, when it's reasonable times, we're happy to try to work with the contractor. But we also have to charge. If they want us out there on a Saturday to inspect something, we need to charge the appropriate rate because it's, city's paying time and a half for somebody to be out there, so.
All right, thank you. Mr. Francis?
Make a motion, we approve the resolution number 2026-04 as written.
Mr. Gaylord?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Frampus, a second from Mr. Gaylord. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries 7-0. All right, that was easy. So we'll do the first quarter budget when we get around later. Do we want to do that first before we do council reports? Get all the business taken care of?
Mayor, that is 100% up to the discretion of the mayor.
Okay, well, let's get the business taken care of, and then we can do our council reports, and then we'll be done. So, Mr. Yes, Mr. Smith, did you want to do the business? Thank you. I'll figure out who it is sooner or later.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. Thank you for tonight. First of all, Mayor, I want to thank you for the comments you made before, but I can't take all the credit as much as I want to, but that's just based on the amazing staff that we have in our accounting department and the predecessors that were before me that laid the foundation. So thank you. I do appreciate that, and I'll pass along the word
thank you.
to staff. Trying to get through the budget fairly quickly. For the first quarter revenues on the general fund, we're currently sitting at about 41%, which looks a little bit ahead of schedule. But this does not take into account the $11 million of appropriated budget we have set aside for various citywide projects. When we take into account the appropriated budgeted portion of the fund balance, we're at 26%, which is about where we should be at this time of year. And actually, we're probably about $370,000 ahead of where we've been collecting as of 2024. So, on the general fund expenditure side, our wages and benefits are about 21%, which is in line with our expectations. Our operating expenditures and encumbrances are about 51% of our budget appropriations, with the actual spending at 39%. The capital outlay and debt service expenditures and encumbrances are at 86%, and that's mainly due to the Mitten Road land purchase and the new community development building. Right now, we have a unrestricted fund balance in our general fund at about $20 million, so there's plenty of reserves available. On the stormwater fund, stormwater revenues are currently at about 87%. That's because a larger portion of our stormwater tax revenues are received in the first quarter of the year. Our current stormwater expenditures are at 50% of the budgeted appropriations, and that's mainly due to the city's purchase of the street sweeper earlier this year. On the first quarter water sewer revenues, things look a little bit unexpected at 6% and 8% respectively. But this is really driven by some of our non-recurring revenues that were budgeted, such as the bond proceeds and the grant revenues. By removing these non-recurring items, we're looking at about 27% in our water fund revenues and about 21% in the sewer. So we're pacing just ahead in the water fund and right at expectations in the sewer fund. On the expenditure side in the water fund, our encumbrances are at 87% of our total budget, and that's mainly due to the full cost of the water purchases being encumbered. Yeah. I've had a raspy voice all day long, so.
Yeah, no.
It kind of comes into play, doesn't it? So our water fund operating expenditures and encumbrances are 87% of the total budget, and that's mainly due to the encumbrance that we get from the total cost of Melbourne water. The actual spending is at 27%, which is right in line with our first quarter budget projections. The water fund capital outlay, the actual expenditures during the first quarter are actually at 6%. That's actually below our expectations, and that's mainly due to the pace of construction. The elevated encumbrances are associated with the water treatment plant, conveyance lines, and the well construction projects represent the total contract commitments over the life of the projects. And that's rather than the actual expenditures that have been incurred to date. I'll get through this in just a second.
Doing good.
I should, yeah. On the sewer side, the operating expenditures to date are at 14%, and the total capital outlay is at 1%, which is also a little bit behind. But as noted before, some of the encumbrances, the elevated encumbrances are due to the construction pace, and that's all due to the various projects like the bionutrient removal project and the septic to sewer projects. Also like to note that both of those projects are fully grant funded, so when the expenses are incurred, that's when our grant revenues will be recognized. So overall, everything looks to be where I would expect it to be at this time of year. And we'll just keep tracking our construction projects to make sure they're in line with with our budget. So I'm available for any questions if you have any.
I don't have any lights on because you've done such a great job preparing the packet.
I'm surprised you actually could understand me.
So also just a reminder, Director Smith did a great job wrapping up the audit and with the auditing firm, and the auditors are planning to be here on the second meeting of March or the first meeting of April to do their annual audit report. So just a side note in case you're wondering minds.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll go back to council reports. Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things to highlight. I thought since at least according to my calendar, we've had a council workshop since our last meeting. It felt like it was not that long ago, but I thought it was very well done. I think it's echoed pretty much every time we have a workshop that everybody feels it's productive and we get a lot done. So I appreciate that. I think everybody else does as well. I did want to let everyone know I got a last-minute notification that Farm Share was coming to Melbourne the other day. It was freezing outside, can confirm, but we tried to get the information out as quickly as possible to residents all around Brevard County. I can share with you just from people that showed up and came through and were able to be helped with the food from Farm Share that we had quite a few that drove over from West Melbourne to Melbourne for that opportunity. I do want to recognize we did get an email from a resident concerning the development timeline that's affecting residents in Sawgrass, and I know Mr. Rohde's aware of it. We've had a conversation about it, but in terms of the road connection versus some other development that's happening there, a question was raised about access to that community in case of an emergency, and it was a conversation we talked about in terms of how Mr. Rohde and I, in terms of how the police department could access residents if there was an emergency while there was a second emergency happening. I think there is a solid plan in place, but I do think the resident raised some good concerns, and so I don't know if there's flexibility in terms of, from a development perspective, asking them to wait until the connection road is completed. I know there's not necessarily a timeline for that, being as there's some other things that have to happen first. But we are starting to hear some concerns about that, and I know it's not the first time we've heard concerns regarding access with Sawgrass, so I did want to bring that up. I also wanted to share with council, since you've asked for updates regarding things moving at the state level regarding property taxes, there is a piece of legislation. It's HJR 203. It was actually co-sponsored by our representative, Monique Miller, here at the south end of Brevard County. And so her piece is moving forward to a House vote on Thursday. So it's going to be this Thursday. If you're someone that wants to pull it up online, watch it wherever, there are multiple places that this particular vote will be shown. But I did want to bring it to your attention because the way that it's written, it looks to be phasing out non-school homestead property taxes over 10 years. And so with that change, they also included in the piece of legislation that cities cannot reduce their first responder budgets. So be aware that, if it moves forward the way that it's written, they're looking at reducing that over a 10-year period to ultimately get rid of it. But then we just have to be aware that that could mean making changes to ensure that our first responder budgets are not impacted. So wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't know if it will pass on Thursday. We will find out. But I did want to let you know if you're someone that wanted to watch or ask questions, not of me, but of the representative or people making those decisions. But just wanted to bring those to council's attention.
What was the belt number again?
It is HJR 203.
Mr. Gaylord, did you have a question?
Councilmember Adams, is there a companion bill for that in the Senate?
Good question. So if, I cannot confirm. Give me, I would assume there is, but.
Please know if it got past committee, so.
But I didn't have that on my notes, so give me a minute and I'll get back to you before the end of reports.
Okay. Is that it, Ms. Adams? Yes. Okay, Mr. Bentley.
I could answer that question real quick. There's not a direct companion. They actually addressed that in the league's briefing that they did yesterday. There's the potential for one still to pop up. Again, if it's a priority of the Senate president, there are ways they can make things happen even this late in session. But right now, there's not a direct companion.
Okay. I have a question on that, but I'll
Okay.
ask it.
You can ask, go ahead.
So if there's not a companion bill in the Senate, are they expecting the bill to die on the vine then?
I will tell you that the opinion of the league's representatives, the lobbyists that they have, none of them seem all too worried about this happening at this point. That doesn't mean it can't, that doesn't mean it won't.
I was asking about the expectation of the league.
There seems to be a general feeling that this isn't something that the House has created, something that is designed not to pass, and the Senate's not really interested in picking it up. But again, this is kind of vibes at this point, right? Not anything definite.
Understood. Just wanted to know what you heard from the meeting. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Bentley.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Gaylord.
Nothing to report.
Ms. McGuire.
On Sunday, I was able to meet with not our local Scouts group, but a different Scouts group in the community. One of their adventures that they have to do at this stage is have a current elected official walk them through the election process. And we have our local West Melbourne Scouts group who actually, when is that date? If any of council would like to come, Monday, February 23rd at 5:30 in the PD training room there. Our local Scouts group will be coming in for me to kind of just tell them about the election process, how it works, how you get on the ballot, how you win elections, those sorts of things. But anybody is welcome to come to that. Go ahead. What time? It's at 5:30. Yes. If it was AM, I would not be there. Correct. Yep. So Monday, February 23rd at 5:30 in the PD training room. The PD has been very gracious to host it for our lovely West Melbourne Scouts, and then I think they're giving a tour for them afterwards too. So I think they are really going to enjoy that. So if any of you guys would like to come out and listen to them, the one I did on Sunday threw out some oddball questions, really gave me some curveballs. I'm excited to see what ours come up with. Other than that, I know we got the email today or the other day, I don't remember, about the 192 pedestrian crosswalk lights going live. I know how they're supposed to work. I know we've been telling people how they're supposed to work. nobody already knows how they're supposed to work. And it is kind of confusing, the difference between if it's flashing yellow, or if it's just yellow, or if it's flashing red, or if it's just red. Obviously, it's not our project, but it's going to be ours to deal with. So I don't know if there's something else we can do to put signs up that say what to do, at least for a little bit. But
we, you know, they did a good job of reaching out to us to let them know they were going live about 4.5 months ago. And then sent an email when they went live. So little, you know, bless the state. I wish they would have given us at least a week's notice this time.
That's what the sign's going to say, right?
So we will push again with the social media. We will push again the stuff that we've been putting out the last couple of months. You know, part of the challenge is we put it out pretty heavy, and then they never went live. And now two of them are live, and not all of them. So we'll get that out to social media again and remind people and try to help get the message out.
I will say they've had signage up in places that signage would be good for. I was at the mall food court, and they have them in the tables at the mall food court that kind of tells you what to do when it does this or that. Was not expecting that when I sat down in the mall food court, but I was like, this is the perfect place to tell people. So, yeah, here, I have it. I got you. I pulled it up. So if there are no lights, it means go. If it's flashing yellow, it means slow down, that people walking have activated the button. If it's just straight yellow, no flashing, just yellow, it means prepare to stop, watch for people walking. If it's red, 2 red lights, straight, no blinking, no flashing, just straight 2 red lights, it's stop, people are crossing. And if it's flashing red lights, it means proceed with caution if clear.
So you gotta stop and caution, like a regular.
So it's like you're slow down and then be prepared and then stop, and then if it's clear, you can go. Or it could be off, right.
Oh my.
I guess it's like a typically flashing, like a stoplight.
Yeah. So it's not insanely difficult. There's just 2 additional things that the light does that people aren't used to. And then the fact that it's off at some times versus not. So I think that is going to cause us some issues, especially as more of those start going live. So it might be worth it to try it again now that they're actually working.
Okay, that was easy. Mr. Frampus.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate, on the 5th, we had the workshop, and like Ms. Adams said, it's nice. It's a good change of format, and where we can just talk about things, and worked out well. Hopefully we have more. I know we got one more coming up at least. And just to touch a little bit on the sawgrass thing that Ms. Adams talked about, the reason that all came up is because we had a disabled tractor trailer that was caught on the top of the hill. The residents, I spelled out everything that was supposed to be done. The residents didn't like my answer because they wanted this emergency evacuation route opened, and they were inconvenienced for an hour. In today's society, we can't be inconvenienced at all. So it would, like Mr. Rohde had said to me before, it takes at least an hour to establish, to reopen, you know, an evacuation lane. So it would have been pointless to do that. They didn't like my answer, so they reached out to everybody, and apparently they're getting some response out of it. So I know Tom had gotten 3 or 4 calls and answered some emails, and you know, so the procedure is, it's an evacuation lane. If we got a hurricane and the main road's shut down, they'll open up the evacuation lanes. You know, for emergencies, it's up to the discretion of law enforcement if they want to open it. But typically, it's just for emergency vehicles coming in. If there's a blockage, it needs to have a clear lane for emergency vehicles to come in, and that's what it's for. Not not to open it up for convenience of residents. So if anybody else gets calls, it's not about the resident being convenience, it's about getting emergency vehicles in. And that's what it's there for, and it's not for public convenience.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm just clarifying, the resident that I think reached out to us was talking about an emergency situation for them accessing, not a
But they were
community coming and going.
And that came up, oh, what if my son got sick, or probably the one that you got, well, then you call 911 and they have an emergency way in. That's not opening up so you can get your son to the hospital. You call 911 and they'll come take your son to the hospital. So they didn't like the answer. I said it just the way the city was putting the information out there. So, it is what it is. It's there for a reason, and they're going to utilize it. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Volz.
Yes, attended the League of Cities on Rockledge. That was a good event. I just wish that they would serve normal food. I have to say that John ordered, they had steak and plastic silverware, and he broke his fork trying to cut it, and it was a total disaster. I didn't even eat hardly. It was kind of funny, but anyway, the food could be better. Anyway, Palm Bay Chamber Luncheon, I went to that. That was really well done. And then, of course, I'm on the Commission on Aging. There was a lady from the state, maybe from the federal government, I think, that flew down and talked about seniors being scammed, and she did a really, really good presentation on that one. And I agree, the council workshop was good. I think we should do more of those soon.
All right, thank you. All right, so speaking of council workshops, I went to the Florida League of Mayors event Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there were 66 mayors there. And one of the things we do for this particular one was we talked about media training, because a lot of the councils and a lot of the mayors don't have media training. They have a PIO officer, but the public doesn't always go to the regular PIO officer. They know people on council. They see them shopping in the pickle aisle at Publix, and they want an answer. If an emergency happens, like it just so happened that the table I was sitting at was with the mayor of Ocala, that's where we were, and they had a very recent emergency where a person that was having a mental problem just walking down the street, just shooting people in the back of the head with his .45. So that was an issue. That was a real, true emergency. And so it was all hands on deck, of course. And so our workshop that we were having is, what do you do first? What is the first thing you do? Well, is it speed? Is it accuracy? What do you say to the public, your PIO officer? Once your residents have spoken with the PIO officer, you have that person up there speaking with the sheriff, and in some towns it is the mayor, and some towns, fortunately, this one is not the mayor. But you still are speaking with people on the street. So we talked about different things of what would happen if these things were to happen to us. So I wrote down some things for any time. I mean, we have schools here, and we have planes fly over, and we have flooding, and we have fires, and we have those other things. At any of these given moments, it could be us. Does anybody here think we need to have a workshop on media training, what to say? It hasn't happened recently to me, but I would get calls from Dave Berman from Florida Today when we'd be having an issue. And you know that they're just waiting to catch you saying something about any issue going on in the city. And sometimes it isn't. Now that we have social media, it could just be a blogger somewhere that's looking to get likes on their social media. So they're just looking for you to say something. And once it's said, you can't retract it, then you can't argue with them. So do you think it would be to anyone's benefit here if we had a workshop on media training, what the council would, what to say, what not to say, what is definitely off limits? I know it's difficult to schedule all of us on on a day when we can all be there. But I just thought I would throw it out there. Maybe some people feel it's not necessary, maybe some people feel it is. What's
We
the,
add it to a workshop where it's just kind of an abbreviated kind of session.
Included in a workshop, a regular workshop.
all right, we don't have a workshop coming up, but when we do,
We do have one.
We do.
we don't have a date for it, but, okay, all right, so maybe we can do that. Maybe we can spend some time on that. Ms. Adams, someone trying to put their light on, because I don't have it here.
Trying to figure out why my light wasn't turning on until I hit the wrong button.
Okay.
My only thoughts on that are, from a personal perspective, I don't see as much value in necessarily a training of this is what you say versus not say, because there are 7 of us that represent the community, and so I think ultimately that's your decision as an elected official. If you decide you're comfortable with what you want to say, then you go for it, and you're held accountable either way when moving forward. But I think, knowing that we are not necessarily we may be a phone call for news, but my understanding is typically they reach out to Mr. Rhodey. I don't know if it's necessarily first, because I don't know his timeline versus when other people have reached out. I just don't know if a training necessarily the way you're presenting it is as value versus how do you understand an emergency and what would we do as a council in that situation? I think that's valuable versus a training of this is what you say and not say, but that's just my opinion. I don't see as much value from a training perspective in that regard. That's what it feels like. If I were a resident,
We should be deflecting to the person that's our spokesperson.
if I were a resident hearing my council wants training on what to say and not to say to me in an emergency, I'm going to ask, well, if I'm calling my council member and asking a question, I'm going to want them to tell me whatever it is they can tell me. Obviously the truth, but that may not include all details. If it's a medical emergency or a mental health crisis or something like that, there's private information that probably can't be shared. But that's, something I think we understand. You can share what is public information, and I think we get clarity on that from our legal department and our city manager, but
And so
like
that
I
we're
said,
all
those are-
sending the same message, because I know when I run into to someone, my residents have known me a long time, I cannot give them a pat, homogenized answer. They're just not going to accept it. They want, because they're going to take whatever was said publicly and call me or run into me at the store, and they're going to want to verify it. So, and I think that's with all of us, because we're all out there on the street, and our residents know us. They look in our face. They don't want a homogenized answer. They just tell me straight when we're having a boil water, whatever it is. So
But I think there is value in understanding what is our policy.
our
and-
protocol, what do
Right,
we do in
what
this
happens
situation?
in an emergency. There, I think there's lots of value. But that's my opinion, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, I
So
agree.
do we have, okay, we've got at least 4 heads shaking. Can we do that in our next workshop? All right, so that's what I wanted to say about that. And after that, the city of Ocala was so clean, there was no trash anywhere. It got to the point where it was spooky, and I was looking for trash because it's like, this is a regular city. It was like the Twilight Zone. There was no trash. There was no traffic backups. It was a very, very, very clean city. That was the first thing I noticed. So I just wanted to mention that if you're going to go inland over there, that's a good place to go.
Proposing our next council meeting be on the road, we can take trash bags and trash pickers and walk and talk? That's what I'm thinking. No, we do not take our trash there. We be proactive and we pick up our own trash.
Pick up our own trash.
Anything else from council before we go to management reports? Okay, Mr. Rhodey.
Just real briefly, the council certainly invited the next 5 Wednesday nights. We'll have our Citizens Leadership Academy. Got a good group. I think we're still at either 14 or 15 for tomorrow night. They're over at 6 o'clock at the police training room, and so feel free if you just want to pop in and listen, or if you just want to pop in, I'm happy to introduce you, and feel free to stop in any of them and introduce yourself. 6 o'clock every Wednesday, 6 to 7:30. And we usually go a little longer, but so usually 6 to 7:30. Looks like a really good group, so I'm excited to Last year, we didn't quite have the numbers, and so this year, it's good to see a full group again.
All right.
Can I ask a question? Would it be something that me as a city council person would benefit by? I don't know.
We charge a little bit more for council members to attend. It's free times 2. If you would like to attend, any council member is more than welcome to come. If you just want to come to one of them, come to all of them. Don't bother coming to the police night. That's never any fun. They bring out all their toys, and the dog demonstration and all that stuff is not as exciting as city attorney and I talking about sunshine and ordinances and the fun stuff that goes into local government.
Don't forget the sewer plant tour.
And the sewer plant tour. So we'll forward the itinerary, the agenda, and feel free to stop in. Everyone, council is always welcome.
And thank you, Mr. Carey.
And for an added bonus, I'll be speaking tomorrow, so.
I'm not coming now.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't recommend it. The only thing I wanted to use this platform for real quick was to remind you in the wake of Valentine's Day that if you received any gifts, this is a gentle reminder that you need to make an evaluation of whether you need to report it or not to the state. The state does have reporting requirements for gifts. Now, this doesn't include gifts from your significant others, so, or those grandfathered relationships. But if, say, a lobbyist or somebody who does business with the city gives you a gift out of the kindness of their heart, that should prompt you to think, do I need to report that or not? And if you ever have any questions about whether you do, please let me know, and you all know where to find me. This also comes in with tickets to galas and balls and stuff like that. And, there are rules about this, and I don't need to get into all that tonight, but just as a reminder that it is your responsibility as a council member, anytime you get a gift, to think about if you need to report it or not. And if you ever have any questions about that, please call me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodey, I forgot to ask you about the street sweeper. I think it was mentioned earlier. Keith mentioned it earlier. I haven't seen it out.
It's still working.
Okay, it should. It's brand spanking. But
Yeah.
I haven't, in the beginning, I saw some of its maiden voyage run, but I've not seen it since then. Maybe I just haven't seen it.
Stealthy. We put it on stealth mode. No, we have had the street sweeper out per the schedule. We did have, IT did install a GPS tracker so it can make a map of what it's doing. We're still finalizing some routes to try to get it, the fewer left turns it makes, the more efficient it is. So we're trying to get that pattern in good, but it's working very well. Haven't had any maintenance issues with it so far, and so, but a lot of that goes to the quality of the operator. If a good operator, while the bristles are underneath the mechanics of it, the more skilled you are, the longer they will last. So. Oh, yeah, I'm happy to get poundage that we're paying to get rid of.
I didn't know.
Yep, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm happy to.
We used to get a report on that when they would go through how many pounds of debris and stuff they took off the road. That would be nice to know. Maybe it could go on the Friday roundup or whatever, some more text in there for you, Megan. All right, anyone else have any more comments for the good of the order? All right, we are adjourned.